It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
In the criminal justice system, sexually-based offenses are considered especially heinous. In New York City, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Special Victims Unit. These are their stories.
I am a Hurricane Katrina victim or evacuee, whatever you want to call it. And I see everybody telling their story because the documentary came out. So I want to tell my story because it is a unique story. So, boom. I'll never forget. I was 12 years old, and we stayed in West Bank. We stayed on the West Bank in Algiers, and days leading up to the storm, I remember like they would come on the news and be like, "Oh, it's only a hurricane. It's only a Category 2. Just border up your house. It like you'll be fine. Stock up on food. Like go to the grocery store. Blah blah blah." Like they always say, because we used to hurricanes. Then the day before Katrina, which was August 28th, my mama was pregnant, and she was due to have a baby within like the next few hours or like the next day or something. And so we were going to stay in New Orleans. My whole family evacuated to different places, but for the most part, most of my family evacuated to Mississippi because that's like where our people from. And so everybody evacuated to Mississippi, but my mama was like, "Oh, we just gonna stay because I'm about to have a baby. We gonna go to the hospital. We gonna be fine," right? The day before the storm, I remember it like days before he was on the news saying like, "Oh, now it's a Category 3. Like, you know, if you can evacuate, go ahead and do that. Like, if you get out, get out. But if you're not gonna leave, you know, do this, do that. Make sure you have flashlights, candles. Like the power gonna go out. Like this and that is gonna be crazy." The day before the storm, I remember that man was on that news screaming at the top of his lungs. He damn near was cursing on the news. He was like, "Get out. It is a Category 5 hurricane now. Get out. Do not stay in New Orleans. Do not try to ride this thing out. You will not make it. You're going to die. And if you don't die, you're going to be stranded for a very long time." He was screaming at everybody. And I remember going outside and looking at the sky, and the sky was like the clouds, the sky, the whole like earth was red. I don't know if anybody else remember that, but I will never forget that sky. The sky was like a bright orange red color, and I remember going outside and looking at the sky, and I called my sister and my mama. I was like, "Ma, like Brittany, like look at the sky, like that's crazy. It looked crazy outside. Like it looked scary. Like it looked like the sky was on fire, like this red." And then I remember, I don't know what, like, oh, actually I do know what happened. So my mama called her doctor who was gonna perform the delivery, and she was like, "Hey, like me and my daughters, we just packed up a little bag, literally like an overnight bag, because we was used to this." She was like, "We about to head to the hospital, like, you know, what do you think?" And my mama doctor told her straight up, she was like, "Stacy, look, take your girls and get out of this city, because it's gonna be bad. Y'all not gonna want to be in this hospital. It's already crazy right now. Like, if I was you, I would not stay here and try to have that baby. Take your kids and leave." By this time, it was about 5, 6 o'clock, like, or it had to be maybe like 2, 3 in the afternoon, anywhere from 2 p.m. to like 5 p.m. in the afternoon, the night before the storm. Mind you, the storm hit the next morning. So mama was like, "All right." So she was like, "We about to hit the road. Like, we about to try to get out as far as we can. Like, at this point, it's so many people trying to evacuate. It's so much traffic. People just trying to go wherever." So we started heading west. And if you from New Orleans or you've been to New Orleans, you know how they have Lake Pontchartrain, that long bridge over the water. So we start driving that way. And I don't remember if we was heading to Mississippi or if we was just driving. I don't know. My mama probably wasn't even in her right mind because she was literally about to go into labor. And we just started driving. I remember I was in the back seat, my sister was in the front seat, and my mama was driving. It was just us three because my stepdad was a cop at the time, so he stayed back and, you know, served his duty as a cop. And we started driving, and normally it takes about 45 minutes if you speeding to like an hour to get to Baton Rouge, which is like right down the street from New Orleans. So we started driving, and my mama started having contractions. And I remember she was driving, and she was just rubbing her stomach, and she was breathing real heavy. She was just like, and she was just driving. But it was standstill traffic. You couldn't get nowhere. So we was stuck on the bridge on top of Lake Pontchartrain, and it was literally like standstill traffic. It took us 5 hours to get out of that traffic. It was so much traffic, like people was just like standing on the bridge. Like you could just get out your car and just chill on the bridge and like look at the water because you ain't going nowhere. And my mama just started having her contractions. She started going, and my mama was like overdue. She was like 10 months pregnant. She wasn't like, you know, it was like that baby was coming. He was coming. And we call my little brother Storm to this day because, you know, he came, his birthday was like literally the day of the storm. So we drive for like 5 hours, and I think we was trying to head to Mississippi to get to like my grandma and my aunties and my uncle and everybody. But my mama just pulled over the first time, like the first stop she could, the first exit she could, because she was like, I'm about to have this baby. Like, I need to stop, like wherever. So we stopped in Baton Rouge at the Women's Center or something like that. It was a hospital where they literally like are known for just like giving birth. We stopped there and we ran in there. We was just like, my mama about to have a baby. My mama about to have a baby. We from New Orleans. Like we just evacuated. Like, you know, she needs a doctor. So they was like, all right, like it's real busy right now. Like it's a lot going on. The storm about to hit. All these people came to the hospital because, you know, everybody who was having a baby, I guess, was in there trying to have a baby. And my mama didn't have a doctor. That wasn't her doctor. Like, you know, that like their system set up for that, I guess. So they put us in the waiting room, and we sat on chairs. My mama she was sitting on a chair, and she had her feet on a chair in front of her. And we just sat in the waiting room for, I don't even know how long. It was hours. Like, it took forever for them to finally come and see us. And we just watching the news in the waiting room. And we watching, and they saying, like, oh, yeah, it's going to be crazy. And then it became dark. It was nighttime, the night before Katrina. And we just sitting there, like, waiting on our fate. And then finally they put us in a room. And me and my sister, we, like, slept on the little chairs, like, so uncomfortable. And then the next, they put my mama like on like all the stuff or whatever, and my brother didn't come yet. So the next morning, we watching the news, we hear helicopters outside of the hospital, and we was like, what's all that noise? Like, what's going on? And then the nurse was telling us like, oh, people are getting airlifted to this hospital from the city, from New Orleans. And we was like, airlifted, like what happened? Like, you know, how was the hurricane? Like, cause we could hear it. It was raining and storming where we was at, but it wasn't that bad. We turned on the news. When I tell you, when we saw that water all the way up to the roofs of people's houses and people laying on their house, drawing out the word SOS, we looked at each other like, what? We literally packed the overnight. I had like one pair of panties, one outfit, and that's it. And we looking at each other like, what is going on? So then my mama finally goes into labor, and she ended up having my brother on the 30th. Now, the day after Hurricane Katrina hit, Hurricane Rita also hit. And Hurricane Rita hit a lot of Mississippi and Louisiana and New Orleans too. So that really took everything out. And we didn't know where everybody was at, because once Rita hit, everybody lost cell service. It was no way you could contact nobody in certain parts of Mississippi, which where my whole family was, and all of New Orleans. So nobody knew where we was at. Nobody knew that we had made it or not to Baton Rouge. Nobody, like our family had no idea where we was. My stepdaddy didn't know where we was at. We literally could not contact nobody. And the story gets crazier after that. But my brother was born. Okay, y'all, I'm back for part 2. Sorry, I fell asleep and I woke up to all these.
I got to do a small interjection. When the newsman said, "Get your ass out of there," I mean, so as I hear these stories, I know y'all go through hurricanes a lot. Y'all be like, "Oh, I'll just survive." See, sometimes y'all need to listen. We here in Oklahoma, we get tornadoes, which is nothing like a hurricane, but it's hit or miss. But when the weatherman says, if you're in the South Oklahoma City area, or you're in the Mustang area, or you're in Choctaw area, get down to your storm shelter now. We get down. I tell you what, I lost everything from my 14-year-old daughter. Everything. She don't have a baby picture. She don't have her baby booty. She don't have a baby blanket. She don't have nothing. Nothing from her baby, because that house was wiped out. The house was completely trashed. It was gone. Boat gone. Car gone. Everything gone. And my daughter's grandma was stuck in a storm cellar for like 8 hours. But when they said get your ass down, and actually y'all could look that up because that's when the elementary school got hit and like 11 kids lost their lives or something, or like three. It was some couple kids lost their life. We lived on that same street, flattened that whole area. So listen, when they say this, get down, nigga, get down. Quit trying to be, oh, we can make it. No, no, you can't.
Messages. So, boom. Nobody knew where we was at. We had no cell service. My stepdaddy did not know that my mama had the baby yet. So we were still in the hospital, and all these women started getting airlifted to the hospital that we was at, and the havoc had already took place. So a lot of people from like different magazines and news stations was heading down, like trying to get to New Orleans. So People magazine came to the hospital that we was at, and this lady wanted to interview my mama and me and my sister, because my mama had just had my little brother. Like, it was like a day or two after my mama had my brother. Like, it was very, very close. So she interviewed my mom, and she was like, so where's the father of the baby? And my mama was like, well, he a police officer, so he's still in New Orleans. We haven't talked to him. He don't even know where I'm at, or if I had the baby or not. So that lady took a picture of my mama and my little brother, and she was like, I'm going to New Orleans tomorrow, and I'm going to find your husband, and I'm going to show him a picture of his baby. And I'm going to insert the picture that she took of my mama and my little brother right here. And so I'll tell y'all what happened after that with the picture, but I'm going to continue with the actual sequence of events. So my mama a soldier, like for real. Like, I saw a lot of the comments, and she really is a soldier. So my mama was not playing after. And so the hospital was saying, like, we don't really, I didn't realize that the hospital was telling my mama that she had to leave and that they couldn't keep us because they needed the space, they needed the room. I thought that we just was leaving because I was kind of young still. But apparently they kicked us out. And so we had to leave. So my mama, we didn't have nobody who could pick us up, and it was a disaster. So my mama had to get back behind that wheel about not even a week after having my little brother. It was days. She had to get back behind that wheel, and we had to just drive. We couldn't call nobody and say, hey, we coming here. Hey, where y'all at? We just had to get on the road and go. And this was before you could get on Google Maps and all of that. Like, we had to do MapQuest, printing out a MapQuest. And we started driving from Baton Rouge to Natchez, Mississippi. I don't remember exactly how far that is. Y'all can Google it. But it had to be some hours. Like, it usually used to take us like at least 4 to 5 hours to get to Natchez. But I could be wrong. But y'all could Google it. We drove all the way to Natchez, Mississippi, my mama. And we got there, And by the time we got there, the only people that was at my auntie house was my auntie, my little cousins, my older cousin who I call my uncle, and that was it. And my grandmother, everybody had left to go back to New Orleans to try to find us because they didn't know where we was at. So you literally could not communicate. It was like living in the 1800s. Like, you couldn't communicate with nobody. You had to just get on the road and hope that you run into somebody. And you definitely couldn't get back into the city because they wasn't letting nobody back into that city yet. So we only had, mind you, don't forget, we only had about 2 T-shirts, a pair of panties, and that was it. I packed a little bitty bag, but I brought my Barbie dolls because I don't play about my Barbie dolls. So then we got to Mississippi. We stayed in Mississippi overnight. Mississippi didn't have power either because, mind you, Rita had hit by the time we got to Mississippi. It was days after Katrina. Somebody said it was a month later. No, baby, it was days. Katrina hit on August 29th. It might have hit in September, but mind you, it was only like one more day left in August. My brother was born August 30th. So we get to Mississippi. They had no power. We have a newborn baby. We can't sit in the house with no electricity in the middle of nowhere in the country in Mississippi. Absolutely not. But my auntie had a generator, but the generator smells so strong of like the gas, the gasoline to keep it running. The gas smell was running all through her house. And I just remember laying on the floor because they didn't have room for everybody, but I was asleep on the floor. My mama was asleep on a chair. And she was up all night. She did not go to sleep. She was just rocking my little brother. And I remember she looked at me and my sister. She was like, we got to go. We got to get up out of here. I can't stay here. We didn't know where we was going to go, what was going to happen. But I remember my mama said my Uncle Mike looked like Jesus walking through. Oh, actually, my Uncle Mike wasn't there. He wasn't at the house. It was just my auntie and my cousins. But the next day after we had been staying in the house, dang, I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember everything. The next day, my Uncle Mike came to the house, and he had on a white T-shirt. She said she looked out the window and saw him walking up. She was like, he looked like Jesus walking up about to save us. So my Uncle Mike came, and he was like, Stacey, everybody been looking for y'all. Nobody know where y'all at. Like, y'all got the baby. Like, what's up? And my mama was like, yes. And she was like, we got to go. She was like, I don't know where you about to go, but can we please come with you? And he was like, yeah, like my girl got a house in Baton Rouge, exactly where we just left. He was like, I'm about to go to Baton Rouge. He was like, I just been making my rounds, driving everywhere, looking for everybody. Like, he was like, I don't know where a lot of our family at, but he was like, I'm determined to find everybody. And he was by himself. It was crazy. And so he gave us the address, and we went back to Baton Rouge, and we stayed at his girlfriend's house. Now, his girlfriend was sweet as pie, super nice. Her family was nice, but it was just very, like, uncomfortable because we didn't know her. They had only been dating for a little while. Like, imagine you meet somebody, and you talking to them for, like, a month, and then a big natural disaster happened, and now your house is the only safety, and the boy who you've been talking to for, like, only a month needs somewhere for his family to go. Like, you can imagine, like, it was very uncomfortable, very awkward. And we had a newborn baby, and, you know, she had us, you know, the only place she could put us was on the floor in an extra bedroom that she had. So my mama looked at us again and was like, we gotta go. And while we was in Baton Rouge, we started to get, like, a little bit of cell service because, mind you, more days had passed by. By this time, it had to be like a week, maybe 2 weeks after Katrina, but we still couldn't go home. We had to buy clothes from Walmart and, you know, really figure everything out. And so we finally got some service, and we got in touch with my stepdad. Now, my stepdad, he was able to leave the city, and he met us in Baton Rouge, which was super, super nice. And when we seen him, we was all screaming like, oh, my God. It was like a moment. We cried, and, you know, it was sad. And he whipped out that picture that lady from People Magazine, whoever that lady was, shout out to you. If you ever see this video, like, you really, like, you were a staple in our life, girl. Like, you really did your thing. Because when we seen him, he pulled out that picture that lady took of my mama and my little brother. And he was like, man, when that lady found me, she was crawling through the water. The water was all the way up to their hips. And he was like, some white lady was just screaming my name, like saying like, you know, excuse me, sir. And he said, she caught up to him in the middle of all of that stuff. And then she told him like, you know, sir, like your wife and your kids are in a hospital back in Baton Rouge. I just interviewed them, and she had your baby. You had a little boy. His name is Rashad. And she showed him the picture. And she I guess she gave him like an actual copy because he had the picture still. That's how I showed y'all the picture. And she was like, this is your son. And I could not believe, I'm about to cry right now.
Well, I would have
I
cried.
couldn't believe that lady actually kept her word and gave my stepdad some
That's
peace
amazing.
of mind while he was out there fighting for his community, fighting for his city, doing his like justice as much as he could. And, you know, that gave him some peace of mind, and we finally caught up with him, and everything was cool. But that's not the end of the story. It's so much more. It's a lot of stuff that I can't say either, but I'm still gonna continue the story. So when we was in the hospital with my mom and brother, there was a nurse who was helping us, and this lady was so sweet. She was so nice, and she really paid a lot of attention to my family specifically. That's how we felt. And she just kept coming in the room, making sure we was all right, wrapping up my little brother, taking care of him, and making sure he was good. She would bring us like snacks, and she really like, she made our experience a lot better. Like, she was like an interesting person. Like, she was like a white lady, and she wore like a little low ponytail, and she was just so sweet. Like, she was made to be there for us almost. And also, when my mama had the baby, usually they don't really let people in the room because like normal procedures, only one person could be in the room. But what was beautiful was my sister held my mama's hand while she gave birth, and I stood behind the doctor. So I watched my little brother come out of my mama, and I almost passed out because I'm not really good with blood and all of that. But I watched my little brother come out of my mama, and I watched my mama push that baby out. She didn't cry, nothing. Like, she just said, and pushed him out. And I almost passed out. And when my little brother came out, he was crying, and he was so cute. And we was just so happy at this moment. Like, we knew all this stuff was happening around us, but that moment specifically was the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced to this day. And I'm 32 now. And that lady, the nurse who was taking care of us, this is like kind of fast forward, and like years and years and years later, my mama tried to find that lady because that's how special and sweet she was to us. And she tried to call the hospital and thank that lady, and like, you know, like tell her like how appreciative we were of her. And when we tried to call the hospital, we tried to describe the lady. We told them where we was. We told them the dates, everything. Them people told my mama that lady don't exist. They was like, we don't know who you talking about. Like, there's no lady that y'all are describing. There was no lady like that worked in that department. Like who are you talking about? And I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it, because my mama was like, was that like an angel or something? Like, did she sneak into the hospital just to take care of us? And then we was like, was she gonna try to steal our baby? But we don't know who that lady was, but whoever she was God sent, because she held it down. And I think without that lady, they would have treated us like trash, because nobody else was really checking on us and making sure we was good like that lady did. But they said that lady did not exist. So after we saw my stepdad in Baton Rouge, we still had nowhere to go, had to figure it out. And so at the time, Red Cross and FEMA was giving out a lot of money, to be honest. But you had to stand in line like for hours, like pretty much all day. You had to camp out and try to get money. They was giving like $2,000, $1,500, $3,000. It just depended on how many kids you had, what area you lived in, I think, and stuff like that. How and you know, just based on being like living in New Orleans or whatever. So we would go to a lot of those Red Cross tents and stuff and try to get money and so we could figure something out. So then we got a call from my cousin who was in Shreveport, and she called my mama and was like, Stacey, like they giving free vouchers. You could stay in a hotel for free. Y'all should come up here to Shreveport. So my mama was like, okay, well, that'll give us time to like sit down somewhere and figure things out. Also, we finally got in contact with my grandmother, and we met up with my grandmother. And at this time, it had been like a few weeks. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't really remember the timeline, but at some point they let us go back into the city. And we was on the West Bank, so it was easier for us to get like out there. But you have to go through like Metairie and go through Uptown and all of that to get to the West Bank because it's on the opposite side from Baton Rouge. So we managed to get to New Orleans just for one night so we could pack some more stuff. And we went to our apartment. Well, we lived in like a townhouse. We went there, and when I tell y'all, spending one night in our actual house felt like we was living somewhere completely different. The power was still out, so we didn't have power, so we knew we was just gonna stay there for like a night, try to thug it out, even with the newborn. So it was me, my sister, my mama, my little brother, and my grandma. So we got to the house, and um it was like I think like my stepdad and some of his colleagues, they ended up staying in our apartment for a little while. So it was like a little, it was stuff kind of all over the place because it was a bunch of men. Like it wasn't terrible, but our house was still pretty much intact. And that night, it was all you heard all night was helicopters, gunshots, sound like bombs. Like it felt like we was living in Iraq, like in a war zone. It was so scary, and it was so hot, and it was mosquitoes all in our apartment. And there was no power, so we all couldn't even sleep. We just stayed up all night talking and laughing and trying to make the best of it as much as we can. And then the next day, we split up from my grandma. She went to her sister's house, and then we drove up to Shreveport. We got to Shreveport. It was this hotel in Bossier City called the Boomtown Hotel. It was like a casino hotel. And the manager there had become friends with my cousin. So she was like, here go y'all vouchers. We giving vouchers for y'all to stay in a hotel as long as y'all need to. Y'all can, yeah, they gave us vouchers for free food. So we ate every single night in the restaurant at the hotel for free. We slept in the hotel for free. But we only had one room. So all of us stayed in the one like hotel room. But it was perfect because I felt like I was living on Sweet Life with Zach and Cody, because I was like, oh my God, we get to live in a hotel. But I'm not thinking about what's going to happen in the future. We stayed in that hotel for about 2 months in a hotel. 2 months. And finally, my same cousin who was there with us in the hotel, she was on a different floor, her and her whole family. It was kind of fun at that point because we felt like we was on like a vacation, but it was like a when is this going to end vacation. And so my cousin, she always know like the moves and stuff. So she was like, oh, Stacey, now they're saying they're giving free vouchers to go to Houston, to live in like rent free for a year in Houston. So my mama was like, bet, like, I don't want to go to Houston because my mama never thought she would ever leave New Orleans. But she was like, we going. So after 2 months, we packed up again and we drove to Houston. And I was so sad because I was just like, we gonna have to ride horses and we gonna have to get milk from cows. Like, I've never been to Texas a day in my life. So I did not want to go. So we get to Houston and I see that it's actually like a city and not just like the country, like living on a farm. And we get to Houston and we go to Southwest Houston, and they gave us this one-story like house rent free for one.
Imagine somebody from country ass Louisiana is saying we don't want to ride horses in Texas. Nigga, y'all was on plantations.
Whole year. It was a blessing. And I had to start school. So if Houston was not messing with people from New Orleans, and New Orleans was not messing with people from Houston. So I will never forget my first day of school. I went to Welch on the southwest side, And I remember the principal giving me a tour, and she was just like, "Oh, Beyonce went to this school," and I was like, "Beyonce?" I was like, "Okay, cool." But every night after school, I would go home crying because I'm just like, "When are we going back home? When are we going back to New Orleans?" Like, I need to, like, I had just got into like the school that I wanted to go to. Like, I had just joined the majorette team. Like, I had a whole life that I was super excited about. My family, my cousins, my uncle. Like, I was like, nobody was there. It was just us. Because my cousin who told us about the voucher, she ended up coming, but they couldn't take it. They stayed for like a week, and then they went back to New Orleans. But my mama ended up getting a real good job at MD Anderson, which is like one of the biggest hospitals that treats cancer. And she started realizing, like, dang, like I make more money living in Texas versus Louisiana. Because Louisiana, baby, the school system sucks, and they don't pay that well out there. So once we started getting like a little comfortable for that year in Houston, my mama was like, "Look, I love y'all. Y'all my churn, and I want a better life for us." And that disaster showed me that things are possible. And just a quick flashback, it was this psychic lady who we used to go to in New Orleans. Like, she had a church, but she was also a psychic, and she used to pull people after church and give them readings. And she told my mama, like, about 5 to 8 years before Katrina happened, that we would move to a bigger city, and we would never go back to New Orleans again. And then my mama thought about that, and she was like, "Mother told me that this would happen, but I never thought it would happen like this." So in school, it was a lot of fights. I got into it with a lot of girls. The school my sister went to, they ended up being, she went to Westbury. They ended up being on the news for like the biggest fights, like brawls in the streets. Like, we just was not having it. Like, nobody was really happy about being there, and they wasn't happy to have us. But eventually I made some really, really good friends. I ended up getting a little boyfriend. They called me Nunu because I was always rocking the new new. No, I'm just kidding. But it ended up being like a really good thing for us. And my mama was like, "Look, y'all gonna get a good education out here. I'm making a little bit more money than back home, so we just gonna stay." And then like a year later, my mama and my stepdad, he ended up coming back with us. And he ended up resigning from the police force because they were horrible. And he didn't like what was going down with the police force, and y'all saw a lot of that in the documentary too. And so we ended up buying a house. We never thought we would buy a house. We bought a big old beautiful 2-story 4-bedroom house in a very quiet, nice area. I went to high school at Hightower, got a really good education. I ended up going to college. Never thought I would go to college. I went to Sam Houston, and life just became, completely different. We didn't go back to visit New Orleans until about 5 years later. We went back for Mardi Gras, and when we went back, that city was not the same. It's not the same. They didn't made everything more expensive. It's touristy now. The culture is very different. It's kind of sad to see how down New Orleans went from pre-Katrina to post-Katrina. But I still go back to New Orleans every single chance that I get. I still love my city, but I will say it's not the same no more. But I am grateful that my mama like found a new place for us, gave us new opportunities that we never thought we would have, and showed us a whole new world. So I am grateful for that. And that's where that story ends. But I do have an audio book. I'm not trying to.
Not turning shit.
So a quick part 3, and I'm gonna make this. It's a lot. So y'all enjoy it. Thank y'all on my YouTube. Y'all can click in the bio. A new place for us, gave us new opportunities that we never thought we would have, and showed us a whole new world. Audio book. I'm not trying to promote, right? But I do have an audio book about my entire life, my whole upbringing on my YouTube. Y'all can click in the bio. I think y'all will enjoy it. Let me know if y'all watch it, and then I can make some more parts to that too.
Okay, her name should be in the description. The Fox, Food for Fox. You can find that and then go check out her audio book. So this is Baby Storm. He all grown up now looking ass. Shout out to Baby Storm.